Hi everybody! Today we're going to be reading from this book. We put the other one to the side for the minute, and the story we're going to be doing today is one that's probably really familiar to you all, so let's see if it's a little bit different or if it's exactly the same as you know it. But before I tell you what it is, remember to listen right to the end, because today one person is going to be getting a shout out. Okay? Here we go. The story is the story of the three bears. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived together in a house of their own in a wood. One of them was a little, small, wee bear. One was a middle-sized bear, and the other was a great, huge bear. They had each a pot for their porridge. A little pot for the little, small, wee bear, a middle-sized pot for the middle bear, and a great pot for the great huge bear. And they each had a chair to sit in, a little chair for the little small wee bear, a medium-sized chair for the middle bear, and a huge, great, big chair for the big bear. And they all had a bed to sleep in, so guess what? The little bear had a little wee small bed, and the middle-sized bed was for the middle bear, and the huge big bear had a massive, great big bed. One day, after they had made porridge for their breakfast and poured it into their porridge pots, they walked out into the woods while the porridge could cool, so they wouldn't burn their mouths. While they were walking, a little old woman came to the house. She could not have been a good, honest old woman, for first she looked in the window, and then she peeped through the keyhole, and seeing nobody was in the house, she lifted the latch. Little old lady. That the door was not fastened, because the bears were good bears who did nobody any harm and never suspected that anybody would harm them. So the little old woman opened the door and she went in. And well pleased she was when she saw the porridge on the table. If she'd been a good little old woman, she would have waited till the bears come home, and then perhaps they would have asked her to have some breakfast with them, for they were good bears, a little rough or so, as the manner of bears is, but for all, very good-natured and very hospitable bears. But she was an impotent, bad old woman, and set about helping herself. So first she tasted the porridge of the great huge bear, and that was too hot for her, and she said a bad word about that. And then she tasted the porridge of the middle bear, and that was too cold for her, and she said a bad word about that too. Oh dear. Then she went to the porridge of the little small wee bear, and she tasted it, and that was neither too hot nor was it too cold, but it was just right, and she liked it so well that she ate it all up. But the naughty old woman said a bad word about the little porridge pot, because it did not hold enough for her. Oh, there was no pleasing this naughty old lady, was there? And she says too many bad words. Then the little old woman sat down in the chair of the great huge bear, and that was too hard for her. So she must have been eating the porridge, even standing up. She hadn't even sat down at that point. Then she sat down on the chair of the middle bear, and that was too soft for her. Oh dear. And then she sat down on the chair of the small little wee bear, and that was neither hard or soft, but it was just right. So she sat herself in, and there she sat till the bottom of the chair gave way, and down she went, boof, onto the ground. And the naughty old woman said a wicked word about that too. She's a sweary old lady, this one. Then the little old woman went upstairs to the bedchamber in which the three bears slept, And first she lay down upon the bed of the great huge bear, but that was too high at the head for her, so she couldn't get on it properly. And next she lay down on the bed of the middle bear, and that was too high at the foot for her, so she didn't like that either. Then she lay down upon the bed of the little small wee bear, and that was neither too high at the head nor too high at the foot, but just right, so she covered herself up comfortably, lay there till she fell fast asleep. Nice. By this time the three bears thought their porridge would be cool enough, so they came home to breakfast. Now the little old woman had left the spoon of the great huge bear standing in the porridge. "Somebody has been at my porridge," said the great huge bear in his great gruff voice. And when the middle bear looked at his, he saw that the spoon was standing in it too. There were wooden spoons. If there had been silver ones, that naughty old woman would have pinched them and put them in her pocket. "Somebody's been at my porridge," said the middle bear in his middle voice. Then the small little wee bear looked at his, and there was a spoon in the porridge, but the porridge was all gone. "Somebody's been at my porridge and has eaten it all up," said the small wee little bear in his small wee little voice. Upon this the three bears, seeing that someone had entered their house and eaten up the small little wee bear's porridge breakfast, began to look about them. What's going on here then? Now the little old woman had not put the hard cushion straight when she rose up from the chair of the great big huge bear. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," said the great huge bear in his great rough, gruff voice. And the little old woman had squatted down on the soft cushion of the middle bear. "Well, somebody's been sitting in my chair," said the middle bear in his middle voice. And you know what the little old woman had done to the third chair? Yes, we do, don't we? "Somebody's been sitting in my chair and has sat and the bottom of it's come out," said the small wee little bear in his small wee little voice. Then the three bears thought it necessary that they should make further search now, because they were getting very suspicious about what had been going on in their house while they'd been out for breakfast. So they went upstairs to their bedchamber. Now the little old woman had pulled the pillow of the great huge bear out of its place. "Somebody's been lying on my bed," said the great huge bear in his great big rough, gruff voice. And the little old woman had pulled the bolster of the middle bear out of its place. "Somebody's been lying in my bed," said the middle bear in his middle voice. And when the little small wee bear came to look at the bed, there was a bolster in its place and the pillow in its place, and upon the bolster and upon the pillow was the little old woman's dirty, ugly head, which was not in its place because she had no business to even be there. "Somebody's been lying in my bed and she's still here," said the little wee bear with his small voice, but getting a little bit upset. The little old woman had heard in her sleep the great rough, gruff voice of the great huge bear, but she was so fast asleep that it was no more to her than the roaring of the wind and the rumbling of the thunder. And she'd heard the middle voice of the middle bear, but it was only as if she'd heard someone speaking in a dream. But when she heard the little small wee voice, all upset little small wee bear, it was so sharp and so shrill that it awakened her up at once. Up she got, and when she saw three bears on one side of the bed, she tumbled herself out of the other side and she ran to the window. Now the window was open because the bears, like good tidy bears that they were, always opened their bedchamber window when they got up in the morning. Out the little old woman jumped, and whether she broke her neck in the fall or ran into the wood or was lost there or found her way out of the wood and was taken up by the constable and sent to the house of correction for vagrancy, I cannot tell you. But the three bears never saw anything more of her. I'm going to quickly show you the picture at the end of that. I don't know if you can see it on there. Well, she was horrible, wasn't she? It wasn't like the story I've heard where little lovely goes along and Goldilocks. This wasn't Goldilocks. She was a nasty old lady who didn't care, and she said lots of swears as well. Bit different, that one. Anyway, back to our shout out, and today that story we're going to dedicate to Tommy. So I hope you've enjoyed it, Tommy, and I hope that you don't go peeping into big scary bears' houses and eating their porridge. Bye till next time.